Welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm your host, Mildred Ingram, Editor-in-Chief. And today I am joined by Michael Vervena, VP of Sales and Business Development at iGuide. So, Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a bit about yourself and your background, as well as your position at iGuide.
Sure, yeah. I have been with the company for about 7 years. iGuide itself has been around for 10 years. And so we started off in the residential real estate, I guess, vertical, we would say, in documenting properties and using it for marketing and sales. And we've quite quickly expanded into multiple different verticals, one being the insurance claims industry, used for fire investigation, for restoration contracting, for property documentation for losses, and then we've also in facility management, outside of commercial brokerage services, and as well now being used for architectural engineering and design work. So either if you're rebuilding or remodeling a house, or you're going to get as-built floor plans, our technology is used in that. And so I've been in this space for a number of years and got to see it grow into all these different verticals, and it being our technology being used to help people manage, understand, and quickly document in properties. So it's very, the built world is being digitized, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. So today I want to chat about technology innovations in the insurance claims and restoration space, kind of as you just touched on. And I understand, again, as you said, iGuide has a large hand in this type of innovation. Like, can you kind of speak a little more to that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I'll take a step back and maybe explain what our system is. So we have a camera system that uses Ricoh Theta's Z1, that photo documents a space, and then that ties that with LiDAR laser data so that it measures out that space. And so what you get from that are insights about that property. So we also have AI that detects objects, that ties in those measurements, and develops floor plans for that space as well. So if you think of the built world, everything's predicated basically on a floor plan. And so your building materials, the layout, the structure of a building, and what it is composed of. So doors, windows, all those elements, and then the quantities of materials that are used to build that space. So we're, this type of technology, I've seen it grow over the last few years quite significantly. Definitely a push with the recent lockdowns that we had over the last couple of years. Being able to share and be able to virtually go into spaces is propelled the use of this technology in all these other worlds and or verticals, or business verticals, I guess I would say. And so in insurance, in the last couple of years, it's quite significantly is picking up steam for sure. And so our technology is used, basically it's to quickly capture and document a building or a built space. And then, that you can be used to explore, understand, communicate, and then understand and manage and plan anything you're going to do with a building through its complete life cycle. And so it's interesting to see how the technology is expanding across different use cases in the built world. But more importantly, it's actually becoming a part of a function and helps tie all those different functions together when you own or have a building's life cycle there, if that makes any sense. So
yes, it does make sense.
Yeah, and so then in the insurance, I guess, restoration claims industry, I mean, I think a lot of your listeners are familiar with this. There's multiple different use cases, and it helps really make the whole process, streamline it, make it more efficient, and then you're able to collect data and be able to go back and revisit and understand that space. So if it's like a restoration or mitigation job on a flood or a claim of some sort, you can do pre-mitigation documentation, so you know exactly the state and condition of that property prior to going into and doing the work. And then you can document it after the fact, after you've done the mitigation work. You can document where your dehumidifiers, where your air dryers are. You can show what the damage was and what work that you've done to and the progress that you've made to mitigate that work. And then even on the restoration claims part of it as well, the restoration side of it, you can document the work throughout the process to say, this is where we started, this is, the work that we've done, and then here's what the completed project it looks like when it's finished. So
Is this
it's
real time?
not real time. No, you capture as you go along. So, you would pick different stages or, I guess milestones where you would want to document that space. So,
Okay.
but real time, I mean, as you're documenting the space, you can upload it and you could quite quickly, within minutes, get back a floor plan, an AI drafted floor plan, and a 3D tour from us, where a 3D walkthrough. So you could validate the information that you just collected. As you're going through that space, you can add in elements or pictures or notes into that 3D tour so that you could document space on real time as you're going through it. And then you could share that virtually if you have someone else who's doing the estimate or writing the estimate, and you're just a project manager at the site, for example. Someone else could be working on that within minutes after it, or can see the scope of the work that needs to be done as well. So if they're in the planning process, to understand, okay, this is what we need to plan for, this is what we need to estimate for, that kind of stuff.
That is so cool. It's almost like the Waze app. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like the one of the navigation apps where you're able to update some things, like, and then the next person is able to see it. That's really cool.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly
yeah,
good
go
enough.
ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to, I just said it was a good analogy. Yeah, I mean, that's I think the ability to share what virtually what a space looks like, and understand everything about that space, or quite frankly keep that data for a future date, is very empowering for sure.
Yeah, it keeps everything up to date as well. So you're not having to deal with paperwork and so on. So, but do you feel these digital solutions are critical for insurance agents in today's environment? And if you do, why?
Yeah, so I think well, I mean, when you say insurance agents, but for in the insurance space for sure, I think depending what you're doing in that space. So we have everybody from fire investigators who use our technology to document and understand what happened at a space, so they can do the forensics on it and really understand this origin of the fire and that process of how the fire spread and what the damages were, and then be able to estimate it. It improves, it makes efficiencies, it improves communication and understanding and communicating of what happened at that space. So it just makes people more efficient for, I think, is the biggest thing. And then on the flip side, you have all this information to go back and revisit and really communicate a good understanding of exactly what happened. So we'll also have people, again, restoration claims, mitigation, estimating the damages. But
Right.
on the front end of a claim too, we have customers that are doing pre-loss documentation of spaces that, are very important. So it's almost, being able to document everything that you own and you have prior to a loss makes this whole process of a claim process a little bit easier to go through, especially when you're managing large factories, or where you have multiple assets in a factory. So one of the several years ago, we spoke to a company that, I don't want to give names, but a large manufacturer of vehicles, and they got hit by a disaster. Their factory got damaged and was damaged, and they didn't have anything in there documented. So it was the post-mortem of going there after the fact and really understanding everything that they had in there. It was hard to quantify and be able to understand everything they had in there. So it moved them down the road of pre-documenting the loss of all their assets prior to something tragic happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is really important, because I know it has to be so hard after the fact to go back and go through and figure out what happened. Of course, we know that there are professionals who can, but I mean, just to ease the process, like you said, this makes it way, way more smoother.
Yeah, there's
Well,
a challenge there, right? Like, it's the cost and expense to do it ahead of time. So
right.
but then, this is why, our tech has been helping on the back end of that to, quickly document and be able to provide that information after the fact as well. So,
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you feel the audience should particularly know about iGuide before we go?
sure. Yeah. I mean, I think most recently, there are estimating softwares out there. So Verisk has got Xactimate. And so we've had a recent integration with Xactimate. And so there's two parts to that. One, that we have an integration with them and you're able to pull our data into the exact software. But the other side is what we have is a new product called InstaSketch. So this is where when you're on the property, you document it, a small claim, a large loss, it could be a flood. So, we quickly document large spaces of
Mhm.
of a building, really no limits. But on the InstaSketch, if you have a property that's 5,000 square feet or smaller, you can quickly document that, upload that in minutes, and go grab it from Veris, where our floor plans are translated into the exact software so that you have that floor plan in there. There are some limitations there in terms of the objects that are brought in, but it gives you that start almost immediately. So if you have someone who's virtually estimating or
Mhm.
writing up a claim, they can see the floor plan within minutes and actually start working on that claim right then and there. So that's pretty exciting, and we're really seeing that speed to the estimate through the capture process and then estimate is quite empowering and impactful.
Yes, and that really cool about that merger with Xactimate. I know the audience would love that, and it's a really huge name. So, um, first, Michael, I just want to thank you so much for your time and insight. I know that is super helpful information for the audience. And before we go, where can our listeners connect with you or learn more about iGuide?
Sure. I mean, they can reach right out to our websites, goiguide.com. So GOIGUIDE.com. And there you can reach out to us. There's a chat bot where our team looks after, or you can reach out directly, just fill out a form there. And if you want to speak to me, you can just request to speak to me as well. And so we can connect, or we can connect you with one of our product experts that can talk you through the product a little bit more succinctly as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So, listeners and viewers, you can learn more about Michael Vervena in our weekly newsletter and on our website, of course, because we do post these, as you know. For more insights on restoration and remediation and the people behind it all, visit our website, rnrmagonline.com. You can go to Apple or Spotify. We are also there. And if you haven't yet, be sure to follow our podcast to keep up with our latest episodes and give us a quick review and rating. We're also on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, so we invite you to follow us there too. This has been R&R's Ask the Expert, and thank you so much for listening.